Hey, good morning, girl. How are you doing today? So, it's Miguel. That's me. And today is the 12th of February, 2019. So pleased that you are here spending some time with me. Some quiet time this morning. Thanks for showing up and just being part of us. Um, I'm happy to extend myself every day and spend some quality time with you and just tell you how I am. Tell me what my day is, tell you what my day is like, and maybe perhaps in the process find some insights about you and your life. So, what's been going on today? Well, all kinds of things. First of all, my hair is big. Have you noticed? And it's getting bigger, and I'm liking it. And the reason is, I have I've mentioned this before, I think, and that is that I've had the same hairstyle for a very, very long time, and like since I was 12 years old. And it's high time that I change things up a little bit, and so I'm making some minor changes, and I'm really liking them. These days, my focus is on slightly longer hair. I want to grow out that hair. I want a tousled hair look. Um, I think it'll serve me well. I think for a long time, I had hair that was just too short. I got a big head and I got a lot of hair, and I think I had to let it show, let who I am show out. And big head, lots of hair. Let's party. Let's celebrate a little bit. What I like about long hair too is that it's kind of rebellious. It's kind of striking. It might be, when it's tousled, it's kind of unruly, right? I think it speaks freedom, expresses freedom. And I like that. I think that's kind of fun. It's kind of, if you can't play with your hair, I don't know what you can play with. Right. So I'm liking it. And you know what? I'm getting compliments about it. I'm noticing people complimenting me more during the day. I'm not sure if it has to do with my hair necessarily. When it comes to questions of appearance, it's more than just hair. It's also, your energy level. It's your nonverbal behavior. Quite often, it's the words that you speak or how you speak them. It's a lot of things in combination that people react to. And you might contrast with the environment. That is the social environment in the immediate vicinity. There are a lot of reasons that people sort of compliment people on their appearance. Sometimes they just look gorgeous. Sometimes they're just beautiful and handsome. But other times it's other external factors that are in play. So yeah. There's so many things going on, so many new things going on in my life. I've started reading yet a new book. I was reading a book about appreciative inquiry. Finished that up. Very valuable. I really enjoyed it. The main point was that so long as you stay in a positive frame and use generative questions to come up with new ideas along that positive frame, and use positive statements, that is, declarative comments about the world, you'll do okay. Yeah, not only will you do okay, but you'll have conversations worth having. And I think that's true. That's just, it's about, I really enjoyed that AI book, Appreciative Inquiry book, because I think it did help me refocus again on narrative, which is a really important theme of my thinking these days. And it's just a way of constructing reality, and it's important. We need to know how to do it as humans. So the new book that I'm reading is a book also written by M.J. Ryan. Now, the Appreciative Inquiry book was not read by M.J. Ryan. It was written by somebody else, whose name I haven't even bothered to memorize. But M.J. Ryan, I'm reading a new book, and this book is titled Patience. And I spent about 30, 40 minutes with that book this morning. And, for me, it's just riveting. I think patience is a really essential quality in one's personality. I think, patience is about self-possession. Patience is about self-control, right? It's about self-responsibility. It's about self-respect. Patience, there's so many. Patience, I think, is a critical personality trait. And I think patience is a trait that helps other people feel secure when they're around you. And I think that, it just is, I think it's really important. So I hope to develop more patience in my life. Here's the thing about modern society is that it doesn't reward patience. In fact, we've got our smartphones today, and I know when I'm waiting for my computer to boot up or my smartphone to boot up, and it only takes like 40 seconds to do it. I'm impatient about it. I find myself being over concerned with how long it's taking for me to boot up my smartphone or my computer. Sometimes I'm impatient on the road when I'm driving. I'm like, even though I'm a very careful and cautious driver, even though I spend much of the time, even in 65-mile-an-hour zones, going 55 miles an hour, going 10 miles per hour slower than the speed limit. I mean, that's par for the course for me. Despite my actual intent of driving in a safe way, sometimes I get impatient on the road. And I'm not really sure what that's all about. There seems to be a general impatience on the streets. I know the fact is 60 to 70, maybe 80% of people on the road drive faster than I do. I am a very slow driver. And, I notice like the tension on the road. It's continuous. There's this, it's like it pulls people faster and faster. In fact, last weekend when I traveled to Los Angeles in the rain, one of the things that I appreciated the most about driving in Los Angeles in the rain was how everyone slowed down on the freeway. That was like, I felt really relaxed on the roads, on the streets in Los Angeles. Like, how often does one get into a meditative, relaxed state on the roads in Los Angeles? Not often. And so I was really appreciating how relaxed I was feeling, and what caused it was just this downpour of rain. There was really no getting around the fact that people had to drive slower just to see where they were going, because there was a lot of interference from the raindrops and from the wind, and then of course vehicles with their 4 tires, they splash the water, and there's like waterfalls of water everywhere. Beautiful. It was a beautiful image. I have a beautiful image in my mind. It was so relaxing and compelling. It's like, this is what driving in LA ought to be like every day. It ought to be, it ought to be, it was, everything was like in slow motion on the freeway. I loved it. See, this is the kind of driving high experience that I want to have on a regular basis. But I'm finding that the opposite is the case most often, is that and that other people are quite impatient. This whole idea of cutting in front of another person while on the street, I think, is also an expression of impatience on the road. The fact is, people have to move from lane to lane. They just do. And, whether someone cuts in front of you is a subjective judgment. People are always cutting in front of people, and you are always cutting in front of them. It's just how driving gets done, right, on the roads. So, it's kind of funny, really. I think I think impatience might be a problem. And I say that in a pretty carefree way when I think my intention is to be a little more adamant, and that impatience is a serious problem in our society today. Here's the thing: we are so conditioned to receive solutions to problems almost instantaneously that we just don't want to wait. We grow impatient when we have to wait any more than 10 seconds for something. And that can start trouble. People can overreact, and they get in poor moods as a result. So anyway, yeah, we do kind of live in a world with instant gratification. I mention regularly about how we have access to the world's knowledge through books, and we have access to the world's music, and it's instantaneous. In fact, we even can communicate with one another using our cell phones instantly. We can connect through voice, we can connect through instant messaging, and we now have video teleconferencing with FaceTime and things like that. By the way, I want to FaceTime with you. I did last week make an attempt, and the phone call did not go through. The video chat did not go through, but I'm hoping that in the future we can do it once or twice, just for like 5 minutes as an experiment, to see if we like it or not. We may not like it. I understand. I also need to video teleconference my mom and my brother Enrico, who are both Apple people. They both belong to the Apple ecosystem. And so that's pretty exciting. I like this idea of discovering FaceTime. But back to the original subject, and that is patience, and how our society is really changing rapidly. I think that 100 years ago, people were a lot more patient. Things just didn't happen very fast. Today, there's a 2-day delivery at Amazon.com. And really any storefront that doesn't have 2-day delivery, especially 2-day free delivery, it's like, what? It's the new standard. If I don't get my thing, whatever it is I bought, in 2 days, forget about it. If it takes 2 weeks, totally forget about it. I'm not even willing to entertain making a purchase from a store where it takes 2 weeks for me to get my item. It's just the way of the world. Standards are rising. And it's so funny. Our culture is really changing as a result of electronics and technology. The speed of thought is just so fast now. Even when I send letters, right, I'm I'm very curious if it takes 2 days or 3 days for the letter to show up at its intended destination. It's about, I don't know, I'm tracking in my mind how long it takes things to happen. I think that there can be some benefit to it. I've been talking about tracking myself. I'm a really big time tracker. Like I'm a big clock watcher in a sense that I like looking at what time it is and figuring out how much time I need to do stuff. Or I'm always looking at my calendar and planning and acting and doing, right? I think that's really important. And so I think there are some really significant benefits that we can reap from focusing on time. Um, in fact, I think that even like the Protestant work ethic might be related to having access to clocks, right? Knowing what time it is, getting up at 4 a.m. and feeding the cows and chickens, right, on the farm. I think there's something about timeliness that is important to human beings. It's about how quickly we get rewards, how quickly we get rewarded. I'm the kind of guy who, if I buy a sweater, I want to wear it the next day. I want that immediate reward. If I buy a new food or a new spice, I want to sample it right away. Like sometimes I'll even return from the grocery store. Let's say I buy a new spice. Let's say I buy a new curry spice or a new Cajun spice. I'm excited about the spice, adding it to my meals, my breakfast, lunches, or dinners. And, as soon as I get home, one of the things that I'll do is sample it, give it a try, test it out, get a sense of whether I like it or not. If I don't like it, I might very well just toss it in the trash. Oh, man. The other day, I was at the grocery store and I was looking at all the choices, right? There are a ton of choices. Just, I don't know what it was, jam or jelly. Maybe it was peanut butter. I forget what it was. It could have been coffee. Who knows what it was? But there were a lot of choices. There were like 5 or 6 choices. And I was thinking to myself, man, I would love to take a sample of some of these choices. So at least I could at least get a sense of what I liked without having to sort of buy every one. Right. In fact, that's kind of what what mystery exists when a person goes shopping. It's like, okay, I've got 5 choices. Which one am I going to like better? It's not all too clear. Often I'm uncertain. I'm not sure I even know what I want. And when I have 5 choices, it just makes the choosing that much more complicated. It's like, well, how do I choose? I can choose based on the information I have at hand, right? The nutrition facts label, or maybe the imagery, the images that are on the advertisement, maybe the pricing. Sometimes I'll even feel compelled to check out the product on the internet before I buy it. Even in the store, right there, I'll go to the product's website. It's kind of funny. I do kind of wish that we had the ability to sample stuff at grocery stores. I know that sounds like an ideal that's almost impossible to achieve. I mean, how do you provide samples, instantaneous samples, say among 5 products to a customer? I don't know. It may be a dream that will never be realized. The same is true in life too, where there's so many choices, so many options. Sometimes it's not clear without knowing in advance, without like sampling and experience in advance, whether you're gonna like it or not, right? Sometimes when I buy a car, I'm totally stumped. I have no idea. Like, oh, I love this Toyota, or I love this Honda, or I love this Volkswagen or whatever. And it's just not feasible to sort of test drive every car that's on my mind, right? You know, could it be that I would love Land Rover more than, say, Toyota? Is it possible? I don't know. So, you know, I think to some extent, human beings, we just have to be content with not knowing. You know, is there a place in life and in living with just being content with not knowing? You know, there might be. You know, it might have something to do with dreaming. You know, you can sample in your mind's eye what an experience is going to be like in advance using your imagination. And you know, maybe that's what reality is calling us to do, is to use our imagination. In that case, I'm doing a pretty good job. All right. So I was briefly talking about patience until I got derailed. So I'm really enjoying reading MJ Ryan's book about patience, and I will be updating you in the future on it as I go through it. I totally am really enjoying reading on a regular basis. I read 30 minutes a day every morning. That doesn't sound like a lot, and it's not a lot, but I love how constant it is. And I like it that it's reliable, that it's comfortable, that I've grown accustomed to the habit. In fact, I'm thinking about adding another 30 minutes, devoted 30 minutes to my day reading. And I think that'll be is 30 minutes in the evening just before I go to bed. I was contemplating this idea today. I've contemplated it before, but I'm getting through, if I read 30 minutes a day, solid reading, 30 minutes a day, that allows me to get through a new book, like every week and a half, maybe every 2 weeks for particularly medium-sized books. That's pretty good. You know, a lot of people don't read a book a week or a book every 2 weeks. A lot of people don't. You know, it means that I can get through 3 or 4 books a month, which is pretty good. I tend to be somewhat of a fast reader. I'm a skilled reader because I read all day, every day at work and at places like that. And so I'm a pretty good reader. I'm highly skilled, very facile as it relates to reading. And so if I added an additional 30 minutes before at bedtime, that could be incredible. Reading an hour a day, man, that would be amazing. Imagine how that would enrich my life. I think it could be significant enrichment. So that's, you know, partly why I'm interested in even entertaining the idea. It's kind of funny. I love having a structured day, but at the same time, I also love having an unstructured day because a lack of structure gives me the opportunity to take advantage of opportunities, right? It gets the possibility to take advantage of opportunities that show up. Thing is, those kind of opportunities don't show up all the time. And sometimes there's a lot of dead space, dead time, right? So, you know, I guess what I need to do is, well, we'll see how it goes. Maybe tonight I will do some reading. In fact, let me set an appointment to do that right now. Hey, Google, set an appointment.
What's the title of the event?
Reading tonight.
All right, when is the event?
8:30 p.m. today.
Okay, reading tonight today at 8:30 p.m. Do you want to save that?
Yes, please.
All right, I saved your event.
There we go. So now I have made an appointment with myself to do some reading tonight. So let's see if I can do it. What that'll mean is that'll mean, wow, if I can get that done, that means I'll be reading an hour a day. Recreational reading. That's going to be phenomenal. Speaking of reading books, oh man, I got more to share. I'm reading the next book in the Harry Potter series using audiobooks. I'm reading Harry Potter's or J.K. Rowling's The Goblet of Fire. This is the story where Harry Potter gets chosen to be a champion in the the Tri-Wizard competition. And I'm really liking it. I'll tell you, I can't say enough about Rowling's writing. It really is compelling. And you know what? There's a lot of humor in the Harry Potter books, a lot of humor in the stories. It is kind of like, it is fanciful reading, right? This is fantastic reading. It's magical fantasy storytelling. It's got a, dark and mysterious mood sometimes. But just, I love it. It's really enjoyable. I find myself laughing quite often at the story, at the characters in the story. J.K. Rowling, the stories she tells are quite believable. I'm impressed with how she's able to sort of spin out of nothing a story that has some kind of depth and consistency to it. I know. It must take prodigious talent, right? Prodigious intelligence to string it all together. I have a feeling that she probably writes notes and sketches to herself about what things look like, and so that she can be more precise in the descriptions. I have a feeling she's got entire lists of characters and their personality characteristics and their physical traits. I have a feeling that she's got like a database, because it's a big story, Anyway, I'm impressed by her skills. It's not easy to sort of pull together an entire world or universe out of nothing, right? And sell it, right? And sell it. Here I am reading the 4th book. I don't know how many books there are of Harry Potter, but I'm guessing there's 6 or 7. That's impressive to pull together a universe like that, and particularly pull together a universe that is so appealing to think about, to be a part of. So anyway, I feel really privileged to live at a time when J.K. Rowling, not only who is an amazing writer, but is also willing to write. She's willing to write prolifically. It's such a benefit to the world, and it's a pretty entertaining story. Sometimes I think of Harry Potter as being sort of the next Bible, really, and I think to some extent it is. And although, let me tell you something about the stories themselves. The themes of the story are, when it comes to sort of moral themes, aren't necessarily clear cut. I think a big part of the Harry Potter series is just that it's fun, right? It's challenging and interesting and surprising, fear-inspiring. But deep down, it's all about having fun. And so, I think maybe some people might take it a little bit too seriously when it comes to, say, learning moral. There isn't necessarily what I'd call a moral theme that runs through the book. But I definitely think that if there was a moral theme running through the Harry Potter books, it would be courage and friendship. those are two very universal themes. And I think they do have center stage in this book. Anyway, what I was thinking I would do is go through our book notes. Book notes is basically a book series where I go through books that I've read previously, and I've highlighted certain passages in these books, and I just read over what I've highlighted, and we can talk about maybe why I highlighted them. So the book notes book that we're on right now is The Happiness Makeover by MJ Ryan. And I did make a highlight to this book on page 5. And this is what I highlighted. It is now, in this very moment, that we must create the only happiness that we can count on. Wow. I like that quote. And the reason is because it's very intentional. It's very taking personal responsibility for our happiness. So we know who does it. It's me, right? Or you. And we know when it happens, right? It happens every moment. Who's responsible and when it happens? That's all you need to know when it comes to happiness. Let me read that quote again. It is now, in this very moment, that we must create the only happiness that we can count on, right? So it's about certainty, right? It's about security. It's sort of like when she says we can count on it, we can only rely on ourselves, really, to pull together these ideas about happiness. It's really up to us as individuals. It's not up to the situation. It's not up to the person over there. It's not up to society. It's not up to the world or to the universe or to nature. It's up to me. I am the one who holds primary responsibility for how I feel in the moment. It's my choice, and I have freedom to choose to make that choice in every moment. So that's a heavy responsibility. That's like a duty, right? It's the choice to feel pain or not to feel pain, and I'm talking about emotional pain. It's a choice that revolves around choosing pain or choosing pleasure in each moment. What choice will you take? What choice will I take? We make that choice every minute of every day, and not just every minute, but every moment, like every second. It's a big deal. I was reflecting the other day on the fact that all my emotional suffering that I've ever had in my life has been self-inflicted. And I was asking myself, why would I do that to myself? Well, no doubt it has some utility, right? Maybe it helps me take action, right? It motivates me. Maybe it helps me, honor other people and situations. Maybe it helps me honor myself sometimes, to entertain negative thoughts. Sometimes it's just about sort of recognizing reality. Reality is not neutral necessarily. It's either working for us or against us. At least in regard to certain baskets of values that we're paying attention to in any moment. And it's just I don't know. I think it's important just to recognize that it's really up to us. I think that's the key factor, and I appreciate that quotation for recognizing that. So the next quotation is something I highlighted on page 6 of the book, The Happiness Makeover. And it goes as follows. And it reads as follows. In a very real sense, happiness is the ultimate makeover. Why else do we spend money and time on fixing our houses, our bodies, our relationships, except that we want to be happier? Yeah. So I think in a way, I think what's funny is that it's kind of a shortcut. Human beings make changes to our external reality so that we don't have to try as hard to be happy. You know, there are actions that we can take to support our happiness. And quite often those actions are, shaping our external reality. But I recognize it as kind of a shortcut. You know, having an external environment that supports our happiness, that props it up, makes it easy for us to be happy. Like if I took a vacation to Barbados, right, and I decided to spend all day on the beach drinking Mai Tais and, on my beach chair, maybe reading a book or something. That is setting myself up for success. And because these are things that I love, right? I love the beach. I love the tropical weather. I love the water. I love to relax and read. Actually, I wouldn't have drunk Mai Tais myself because I don't care to drink alcohol. But maybe I would have like a virgin pina colada or something like that. Because I love coconut juice, coconut water, and I love pineapple juice. I love pineapple juice and pineapples, by the way. Amazing. So yeah, having some cold drink, yeah, that definitely would support my happiness. But even if I'm not on the beach, I'm still responsible for whether I'm happy or not. And it just might be harder, right? It might be, I might need to take, it might be a little more effortful to help me think happy ideas and happy images if I'm not in Barbados. I've actually never been to Barbados before, and I'm not even sure where it is. Is that the Virgin Islands or something like that? I do not know. Is it in Bermuda? I'm guessing that's where it is. Hey, Google, where is Barbados?
Barbados is 4,058 miles away.
Hey, Google, in what state is Barbados?
On the website worldatlas.com, they say, Barbados became an independent state in 1966 after gaining its sovereignty from the United Kingdom. Do you want a little more context?
No, that's okay. I think that's good enough. Thank you.
Okay.
So here's the thing. I think it's really funny that I'm so impatient. I can't even look up Barbados on the internet. I've got to use my Google Assistant to, I don't have to use it, but I like to use it. So my point is that it's wonderful to have your external reality prop up your acts to be happier, your thought acts or physical acts. It's wonderful, but sometimes we don't have that benefit. Sometimes we're not resourced in having our external reality sort of match the way we want our internal reality to be. Sometimes we've got to build up our internal reality ourselves, right? Ultimately, we are responsible for doing it ourselves, right? And so anyway, I'm just appreciating that. All right. Next comment, next part of the narrative, next part of the book. This is on page 6. I highlighted this passage, and it reads, rather than trying to shore up baggy eyelids or redo mismatched furniture in our attempt to experience greater overall satisfaction and enjoyment. Why not go directly to the source? Cultivating the mental and emotional outlooks that will generate a sense of joyfulness independent of couch fabric or lipstick brand. So, this is the ultimate goal. This is nirvana, so to speak, where you're able to sort of extract happiness out of the present moment independent of your external reality. Yeah. Now, if you can do this, imagine how empowered you might become. Well, what it would mean is you get to save your resources, right? You don't need to buy the latest greatest lipstick or the latest greatest brand name fashion pants or shirts or jacket, right? Or fashion shirts or shoes. You know, you could save a lot of money. You could save a lot of time. I mean, what if I could be happy and just never leave my house? There's power in that. There's power. Let's say I become a quadriplegic, right? As a quadriplegic, you know, my ability to affect my external environment is compromised, right? And so it's a challenge. In a way, people who are quadriplegics and can maintain their happiness are, in a way, it's a privilege because, they're learning how to be happy despite their environment, despite their powerlessness to change their environment. It's kind of funny. The whole world, I mean, a lot of people's mental outlook is focused on should, would, could, right? They're always idealistically seeking out the best that they can make happen, the best of the change that they can make happen in their external reality. And, to varying extents, human beings are somewhat powerless in changing our external reality too. I wish I could, with the snap of a finger, make the changes that I want in my external reality. I mean, that's what is so compelling about magic, right? That's what's so compelling about the Harry Potter series of books. It's this thing called magic that allows you to change your reality with a few words. With a magic wand. What an amazing world that would be. I also imagine that would be an extremely chaotic world. Probably one that's not worth living in. It would be so chaotic. People would be doing magic all day, every day, changing their reality. And, I can't see that working out well. I can imagine, say, two people competing over the flavor that ice cream ought to be, strawberry chocolate, using their wands to change it to strawberry or chocolate. So here's my point, is about generally the essential powerlessness we have over our environment. Human beings are actually amazingly powerful, and we have a lot of control over our environment, and we exercise that control. I talk a lot about how human beings are changing the planet and climate change is happening, and how we also have the power to change it back, right? We're getting just that powerful. And that's a wonderful thing as a collective group. We'll get there. It will probably take us some time to do it, but we'll get there. I'm pretty confident about it. And here's the thing. To some extent, human beings are powerless to change their external environment. We're also certainly powerless to change other people. As much as we'd like to change other people, sometimes we can't. In fact, and I'm just going to go on to a short little tangent here about relationships in general. Relationships are fleeting. This is a learning that I'm recognizing right now. It's just that, I've had a number of relationships throughout my life, friendships, romantic relationships, family friendships. Um, and they're always changing. They're so dynamic. There are times when friendships wax and wane. And even family relations, there are times when they wax and wane. And, often it's really not clear that I have control over them. you know, I'd like to think that I'm in control, that I have some ability to foster deep, lasting connection with others. And I do. I have some ability to do that. But, you know, reality isn't just me and my effortful action. There are a lot of other externalities, external situations, external circumstances that impact other people. And the result is that relationships are temporary, almost everyone. And it's funny how that could be a good and a bad thing. On the one hand, I think a lot of people long for permanence in relationships. That is when they're going well. And they also long for impermanence when they're not. They long for change when they're not. The bottom line, though, is that life is change and relationships are change. And, relationships aren't permanent, both platonic and romantic. And, all we can do, I guess, is watch the spectacle and enjoy it as much as we can. It's as if that life is like a firework display, or life is like walking through an art gallery, where we come upon a relationship or an external experience, external situation that we enjoy for a time. And then it goes. It's fleeting. And the good thing about that is that sometimes we are confronted with challenges. Maybe we get in a car accident. Maybe we get sick, right? But then there are people go into remission, and they get better. Or their chemotherapy starts working, or it stops working. So, reality is all about sort of recognizing these sort of this wave patterns, recognizing this change and just sort of rolling with the change. That's what we're here for. We're here for rolling with the change and enjoying the change as much as we can. It's almost like surfing in the ocean. Although I've never been surfing, but I can imagine there are high points and low points in the surfing day. That wave action. There's always change, and there is change that accompanies good and change that accompanies bad. And anyway, I guess that's what it's up to us as humans to sort of extract as much enjoyment and happiness out of the process as possible. That's the challenge. That's the challenge of being human. Okay, so the next passage that I highlighted is on page 6 of MJ Ryan's book, Happiness Makeover. And the passage reads, I've come to understand that happiness is a feeling that arises as a result of thoughts we choose to hold and actions we choose to take to increase those good thoughts. In this way, we think our way to happiness. Yeah, let me read that again. I've come to understand that happiness is a feeling that arises as a result of thoughts we choose to hold and actions we choose to take to increase those good thoughts. In this way, we think our way to happiness. Yeah. So, happiness is created through a combination of thinking and action. And that action supports the thinking, right? It's thought and action. And that action supports the thought. So you get this, what I'd call circular pattern going on, sort of a cyclic pattern, where the thoughts create the actions, and the actions help create the thoughts. And there's like this knock-on effect, right? It's like a domino effect. More thoughts, more actions, more actions, more thoughts, more thoughts, more actions. And really, life is all about creating these spirals that sort of provide this positive feedback, right? That's where you want to go. If you can discover a series of thoughts and actions that raise your frequency or your energy level. I'm using those words as metaphors. I'm a physicist. So for me, the words frequency and energy level have very specific meanings, specific units. Um, but if I can use those terms metaphorically, I think that you can raise your frequency and raise your vibration over time if you choose the right thoughts and the right beliefs. Yeah. And I think that's a major goal in life. So before I move on, I'd like to answer at least one question from my question and answer series. And that is question number 260. Do you prefer to plan your vacation or be spontaneous, and why? So I like planned vacations and I like spontaneous ones. And I think I lean toward having spontaneous vacations probably a little bit more than planned. Here's the problem. On any given day, I might feel a certain way. I might feel good, bad, sad. On any given day, there might be opportunities here, there, over there. Those possibilities are about, change. And the thing about plans is that they tend to be somewhat rigid, right? So one issue I have with planned activity is that you often don't get a chance to take advantage of opportunities that arise in the moment, even good ones, because you're committed to your plan. A plan exists. A plan is only as good as the vision that sort of generated the plan. And sometimes with changing contexts, vision can improve. Vision can get brighter, right? And if you're locked into a plan, you can't change when you want to. And so you can't reap the greatest benefit. Sometimes you can reap good benefits, but not the greatest benefit. And so that's the beef I have about planning. It's hard to predict the future. Human beings have been trying for millennia to predict the future. And you know what? We're all pretty good at it. We get a lot of practice. We do it every day. But sometimes it's not good enough, And so planning is great to some extent. But I think sometimes people get locked into less than desirable circumstances. I mean, it's happened to me a few times. Like I remember, sometimes I plan to go to an amusement park, right, on some weekend. And then I find out that it's going to be raining. Of course, I'll change my plans. But there are other times when I lock in plans with other people and, just from an integrity standpoint, I follow through with that plan when I could be doing something that I would enjoy a little bit more than that original plan. We're all sort of balancing these different priorities, and just sort of, I don't know, we're all living our lives, doing the best we can. But just to get back to the question, I think I prefer spontaneous vacations particularly when I'm with myself. So, Emily, I'm going to start wrapping things up here. First, thank you very much for stepping up and clicking that link and being a part of the conversation. So happy. I'm so happy that you're in my life. These days, I'm focusing on how I am devoting my attention to you. You know, how can I deliver the most compassionate, delicate, sensitive, accurate, relating with you that I possibly can. You know, it's about how I relate with you. How can I do it in the most sensitive and productive and positive way? So that's kind of what I've been thinking about lately and what's been on my mind. And, you know, for me, it's about 100%. It's about building connection. It's about empathy. It's about care and kindness. You know, that's how I want my reaching out to be perceived. And that's what I'm going for. And so I hope that you're enjoying the ride as much as I am. I think in the future, I'll be employing more electronic strategies, you know, using more digital strategies, you know, using resources like FaceTime to do video conferencing and maybe sharing using Apple's iCloud, photographs, and music. So these are things that I've got on my mind about how I can enhance our relationship and make it more deep and expansive and enjoyable for all of us. For all of us, for you, your mom, your stepdad, me, your granddad and your grandmom, your aunts and your uncles. You know, for me, it's about everybody as sort of a cohesive whole. You know, we're part of this tribe, right? You know, there are various tribes. There's not just one tribe. There's the human race tribe and the Californians tribe, Santa Barbarans tribe, and you know, you're a part of my family tribe, and so, you know, I'm focused on making our interaction and connection the most generative and productive that I can possibly make it. So I want to tell you about how much I love you and how much I cherish our relationship and how much I cherish you and how much value I see in you and how important your ideas are to me. I want to convey that and relay that to you. I hope you have a fantastic day today. You know, I hope you have a good day at school. It's sort of like the middle of the week. You know, I'm going to be pulling together a workout at the gym, and I'll probably be maybe even writing a letter to you tonight. And I'm also going to be cooking stuff. I might bake some brownies tonight. Oh, yeah. So I'll be thinking about you when I do these things. I hope you have a fantastic day, a fantastic rest of the week, and maybe we'll get a chance to spend some time together on Valentine's Day. I propose this idea of freeing up your parents for a date night, and where you and I can go out and go have dinner or something like that. So I'm hopeful that that will materialize. And man, I just hope you have a fantastic week. I'll talk to you later, love. Bye-bye.